Hi, this is Chris Claremont speaking to you from the offices of Nightwing Restorations, suggesting that you take a good listen to the Epic Marvel Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Epic Marvel Podcast. Boy, I just don't have my act together. How do I make myself bigger? There we go. Hi, everybody. Man, it's been a busy week, and I already told you that I missed doing this live stream on Monday just because I was so busy, and then today trying to get things done too. So one of the main reasons is that Marvel is taking they, like a lot of companies, they shut down their studio during the the Christmas and New Year's season, and so we have to get a bunch of our stuff in for their approval before um, before they shut down for the holiday, if we need things done fast or quick or soon. And um, I'm working on the Marvel art of Tyler Kirkham, that book that we kickstarted a little while ago, and I've been I've been waiting a long time for Marvel to send us stuff that we need, and then now I'm like putting this book together, and we have to try and get it to Tyler for approval and Marvel to approval and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, it's just we're trying to crunch the deadlines before Christmas and stuff. It's so it's a lot of work. Anyway, I'm here now, and we had a tremendous week last week reading through this book, The Fate of the Phoenix. And you know why? Because one of the best stories, not maybe that your mileage may vary. Maybe it's not the best. Maybe it's not your favorite, but it's arguably one of the most important stories in X-Men history, and that's the Dark Phoenix Saga. And so, yes, we read the Dark Phoenix Saga this last week, and it was great. How are you all doing, everybody? I see that there's a lot of chat going on already. That I'm happy that you were chatting while you were waiting for me. But we have Batman Loves Comics again. Hello, Batman and Doctor James. And I'm gonna scroll through here. Matt H. I love your avatar, Dick Tracy. That's a really, really great one. Exeter. And it was my first time reading these issues, and I gotta say they did not disappoint. That's wonderful. Yeah, they are really, really, really great. Super job. I'm here with a completely intact fibula. Oh, interesting. Okay. Max, hi Max. I'm glad to hear of your support. Thanks. And JV is here too. What was everyone's favorite issue this week? Mine was 133 because it spotlighted Wolverine's badassery. How long should we give Curtis? Well, I hope I came in just in time. I don't really want to clean up that mess. It's raining here, so that would get very soggy very fast. Okay, let's see here. Issue 138 is like when they could still do X-Men Grand Design in a single issue. Yeah. That issue is great. What a great recap. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Just before we start, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow we are doing Epic Collection announcements on the Near Mint Condition YouTube page or YouTube channel. So head over there. We're going to be talking about 20 new Epic collections that are arriving between arriving between August to October of 2026. 12 classic era epics, 6 modern era epics, 2 reprint epics, 20 in total. There's some really great stuff there. We've got a raspy throat today. So it's gonna be a lot of talking, but we're gonna see how things go. Max says, I can't watch the Epic Collection stream live because I have a gig. Oh, can you please tell them to me now? Okay, sure. Let's see. Conan the Barbarian, Volume 15. Um, let's see. Fraggle Rock, Volume 1. And Transformers, Volumes 5, 6, and 7. There you go. That's sneak peek. No, just kidding. All of that is false. Don't believe me. You'll have to see tomorrow what we're going to be talking about. Okay, but let's talk about this week. This week we read X-Men 133 all the way to 138 plus X-Men Annual number 4. And let me tell you, I enjoyed all of these. Oh yeah, Phil's here too. Hi, Phil. And yes, Master of Kung Fu number 3 and Alf Epic number 1. How could I forget Alf Epic number 1 that we were announcing that tomorrow? Yeah. Don't believe me. Um, you'll be very disappointed. I know I would be. We're going to start with X-Men 133. A bunch of you in the comments said that this is your favorite issue that you read out of this week because it spotlights Wolverine. And it has been said that Dave Cockrum was not that much of a Wolverine fan, so didn't really spotlight him in the artwork all that much. The way the Marvel style works is that Chris Claremont gave an outline and kind of roughly shaped the plot, but didn't dictate like this is how many panels go on this page and this is who's going to be doing what. He would then hand it over to Dave Cockrum or whatever artist, and the artist would say, okay, here's how I'm going to lay it out. Chris just said he wants a battle sequence in these pages, so I'm going to make it a Nightcrawler battle sequence. I'm going to give Colossus the spotlight. As a lot of that was the artist's decision. And so Dave really kind of kept Wolverine at bay. Of course, he got his time to shine every once in a while, but for the most part, he was second fiddle to some of the other characters. John Byrne loved Wolverine, and so there we see the fruits of that. Where here we have a whole issue that's kind of almost nearly centered around him completely, as he's going through the Hellfire Club and saving his friends who have now been taken. I'm sorry about my throat here. It's very, very raspy today. Okay, so and we can see also that he favors some big panels. He really, really likes his big panels. And so this one here has some a great action sequence where Wolverine comes down from the top, and one panel bathed in red. And I believe this is kind of a censor because, of course, they're still adhering by the comic code and they're still making comics for 10-year-olds, so they're not going to get brutal and violent. Oh man. I just can't shake this phlegm that I've got in my throat here. So a lot of the times masking the violence in color is a way of censoring. But not only does it censor it, but it also gives it a dramatic effect because, of course, this is kind of blood red, and we imagine Wolverine's tearing through this guy's chest, and it's going to be blood everywhere or whatever. And this is kind of the way they can get away with it, but also playing to the censorship board, and I think that's a neat effect. And they do that often in the old days. You kind of see that in modern days still as well, but because you can show a lot more in comics now, it's not as effective. But yes, JV says years before Wolverine, black, white, and red, which serves a different purpose. That red serves a different purpose in that book, but there you go. My highlight of the whole run this far is the Byrne art. The stories are good, but the art is mind-blowingly great. He is a great artist. There is a reason why he is so famous here. Yeah, here's some more of those red panels. Just when Wolverine strikes them, And you can see that he doesn't get the red panel when Wolverine gets shot in the chest because we know he'll survive that. But for these other guys, those slash marks are they're fatal. And that's why in this bottom panel here, the sound effect is kind of censoring it a little bit as well, which is sometimes something that they do. But great stuff. And this last guy, he's like, oh no, I'm not dealing with this. Okay, so speaking of great art, just check out this panel. This one panel in the middle here, perspective is great, tons of detail, but at the same time, none of it is masking any of the important information. It is a lot of detail, but it is purposely um, orchestrated so you can still see all of the characters in the background easily and all of the characters in the foreground. The thing that helps the most is Storm's white hair because that makes her face stand out, but that also adds a buffer between Cyclops and Colossus so that they can stand out too. My only little nitpick here is that the blue in Wolverine kind of meshes with the blue in Colossus's uniform, and so his head kind of blends in, which is too bad. But the rest of the panel, super, super good. And here we have Jean Grey. She's under a trance. She believes herself to be in a time period about 200 years ago, and um, and that's what she sees. She's seeing visions of her teammates, but they are in um, clothes dated back to the Victorian era, and Storm is apparently a slave. That's in her vision, at least. So she is totally under the trance of this illusion. And I love this helmet here that Cyclops is wearing. That blocks his ruby quartz. Look at this. Look at they cut out ear ear holes for his ears. Like, would you go to that much detail to make a ruby quartz helmet to block his rays? You'd probably just make just some sort of a bucket you'd place on his head, unless it's to hold the whole thing in place. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. So I really like this sequence here where they're trying to break through to Jean Grey and trying to appeal to her as friends, and each one kind of gets their own moment to try and call out to Jean and convince that they are uh, that they're her friends. But yeah, and meanwhile, back in America, um, Angel he gets an extended stay in the pages of X-Men over the next few issues, which is very very cool, and so does Beast. Um, so it's great to see them back in the action. Wolverine sneaking around. Here's an interesting scene right here where they're in kind of Jean's mindscape, except now instead of highly detailed, we get very, very minimalistic backgrounds and sets because we are really drawing into the focus of these two characters as they battle. Like nothing else matters. It's really, really focused on the action here. To the point where Jason I wonder if Jason just can't keep up the illusion when he's concentrating on the sword fighting or something like that, I don't know. Uh, Great scene as Wolverine busts through. Oh, okay, so James says they aren't actually fatal, though. Those guards come back as cyborg guards and eventually become part of the Reavers. That's pretty cool. I like that. That's gonna be quite a bit later on down the road. Let's see. I'm actually disappointed that the cut wires didn't really do anything. Yes, the lights went out, but it didn't really help the story. Yeah, we'll get to that in just a second here. I like all of these guards wearing their powdered wigs. Like they really go all out for keeping this whole era thing going on here. It's just kind of weird. Hellfire Club is bizarre. So yeah, here's a great splash page at the end. Cyclops has been defeated, and everybody is looking over his seemingly dead body. Superjob says, I'm not the biggest Claremont fan, so if I get too negative, just kick me. Uh-oh. Superjob, what are you talking about? JV says, I've lost count how many times the X-Men have been held prisoner by various equipment during Claremont's run. It is weird, hey, that everybody's rich and everybody has a team of highly skilled engineers and builders, and like they can construct all of these really intricate machines and devices, and they have the materials like a whole bunch of ruby quartz that they can turn into a helmet to block Cyclops's blast and stuff. And then Magneto had that at the bottom of his underground volcano base. And who else was it? Um, Lang, Stephen Lang, up in outer space, had a whole space station filled um, with harnesses that specifically catered to each one of their individual powers. Just man, if you had that much money, then like just like buy an island and retire there or something like that. The only thing worse than being captured is being captured by a group in powdered wigs. Very true. Okay, here we are. This is X-Men number 134. I like this cover. It's kind of an homage to issue number 100, except instead of Xavier in the middle, there's Jean Grey as the Black Queen with the Phoenix behind her. Quite a stunning cover as the X-Men are going to face off against the Hellfire Club. Really, really cool. Here's another example of a really busy panel, but still really, really well crafted. Look at that floor, the carpet. He put on a weird carpet pattern. It's not actually a carpet because it's like a shiny, shiny floor. Because you can also see the streaks coming off of Cyclops's and Nightcrawler's feet in order to denote like a reflection. But coloring it pink, what that does is it really brings out the dark colors of all of their costumes, the blue and the black in Nightcrawler, and and so the framing doesn't get obscured. So by giving the carpet a light or whatever the floor a light color, even though there's lots of lines on it to make it detailed, it still serves as kind of a negative space in order to block out the character. So that's really, really cool. I like that. A great panel here where we get to see visions of all of these characters in the different ways they're being perceived, and a great introduction to the characters as well. Nice recap page. I think Claremont and Byrne were really good at the recap pages, and of course, we're going to get our whole recap issue in a little while, but this is necessary because we're going to enter a big story here. And if you're just picking this one issue up off of the spinner rack at the 7-Eleven, then you need to know what's going on. And here it is. Man, some really busy panels. And here's a great moment here where Cyclops figures out how to bust out of his ruby quartz helmet, and he sends it flying. I think that's Pierce, right into the back of Pierce's head. And here's where some of the action really ramps up because now all of the X-Men, as Cyclops frees everybody, all of the X-Men get to face off against different people. And this is where we get to also really find out how formidable the Hellfire Club is. Because up to this point, they were kind of just rich people in their fancy duds and stuff. And we know that Mastermind has some powers, and we suspect that other people have powers. We've seen a little bit of powers from people, but now we get a much bigger show of or display of force from all of these characters. Leland, um, I'm not even exactly sure what his power is there. He seems to be able to control gravity, but I'm not. I'm the least familiar with. But everybody gets a chance, and then oh yeah, and Beast comes. He sees that the X-Men are in need of a hand, but he doesn't want to alert the rest of the Avengers, so he flicks off the switch, and that's going to play up big time down the road there. Not big time, but they're going to reference it again in a little bit later on. Yeah, great. Every hero here gets a moment to shine. This is just a standard size issue, but it's really well paced. The pacing is excellent because everyone, the heroes and the villains, there's got to be like 10 characters here that we're keeping track of, but it all works together. And so Claremont and Byrne are credited as co-plotters, and I wonder how much they talk about that because it's like, well, uh, there's got to be enough detail in Claremont's plot to be able to give Byrne enough to go on. But does Byrne get to decide who gets to fight who and how much time to devote to each of these battles here? I'm not sure. Anyway, it's really really well done, whoever it is that gets to decide that stuff, or maybe it's a group effort. And here we are. Jean Grey is breaking out of the mind control and starts to overload Mastermind's mind with just the information of the universe as she has received it from Phoenix. So that's pretty darn cool. Very nice. To clarify, not being a Claremont fan, says Super Job, it's mostly, like I mentioned in the previous stream, that I'm a bit tired of all the mind control in his plots. Yeah, we'll have to see how many times that comes up, because it certainly has been a few times now, and I know that it will happen again, but we'll see if he moves on to some other stuff. Uh, More great stuff here. This bottom panel, again, using coloring to bring the characters to the foreground so they don't get lost in the intricate background and all of the rain. So nice move there. And they thought Jean was dead, but maybe she's or not dead. Sorry. They thought Jean was okay, like not under mind control anymore. But it turns out that she's actually being controlled by a different mind now. It's the Phoenix. Poor Jean just gets sent through the ringer, right? She's just unfortunately being thrown back and forth between factions and has no control over it for herself at this point, at least. So it's really too bad. That space panel with Mastermind is fine art. I'm curious, is there any special technique to make it? Let's take a look at that panel again. Back here. My guess is that it was he probably yeah, it's probably he probably just had to draw all of those outlines and outline it like that. It could be that he drew the background first and then put some sort of overlay over top and then etched away the ink like a small blade or something like that. That's possible. Sometimes they do that, but that'd be a lot of work for this huge panel right here. So if you what maybe he used white paint. That's also possible to do that, and then outlined that white paint with ink again. They certainly didn't do very many overlays and that kind of stuff. Not cut out, at least. I don't know. It is a nice panel though. Not just that one, but the eyes at the top of the panel there, those different eyes, those are really nice too. And then the extreme high angle of that bottom panel, very nice. Look at the detail on that rug. It's just a nice page in general. Wonder if the original art for this exists and if somebody has it. That'd be interesting to know. Yeah, and the subtle tear in panel 3 going down his cheek there. Yeah, really nice. A lot of great details. Okay, let's go on to 135. Defeated by the Dark Phoenix. This is one of those iconic covers. Great effect. Wow, look at that as the energy and the light emitting from the spacecraft explodes over the city. And yes, they destroy another plane, and I love that Nightcrawler even calls it out here. He says another aircraft destroyed. Like he knows it, we all know it. It's a rainy day here. Perfect storm, and it's just incredible. Rain is hard to do without making things look too just cluttered, but you have to know where to put the lines. And so you can see over top of the characters, there's fewer lines than there are in the background in order to make them stand out. It helps that all of their costumes have an element of yellow in them, and that really makes the characters stand out. This battle, this battle, I was not expecting. Um, uh, reading them all quickly in order like this, one day at a time, is like I haven't read this story in a long time, so I forgot kind of the order of events, and I thought this battle was a lot longer, but it actually is only just I mean, it is half of this issue, but I thought it was like a whole issue, and um, but it gets wrapped up a lot quicker than I thought, but very, very effective. Let's skip ahead a little bit to get to yes, this page right here, where we see the effect that the Dark Phoenix is having on the wider Marvel universe. I love it when they would do this kind of thing. It's just like, let's just check in and let everybody know that the other heroes do notice that something's going on here. This is a big enough event that is going to shake the world. And so, yeah, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, and Doctor Strange and Silver Surfer, they all realize that something is going on, but they don't quite know what it is. Anyway, there's the Beast, and there's Angel. We're gonna get the gang back together. I always wondered why they didn't include Iceman in any of this. They brought back all the other characters, but Iceman didn't join in on the fun. Okay, this is the pinnacle moment right here where Phoenix goes into outer space and completely destroys this planet with, I can't remember what it says, something like 4 or 5 billion beings on it. Didn't even didn't even register. Like, uh, and then a passing Shi'ar ship also went to investigate, and it got destroyed as well. Great outer space stuff. I can't believe the scope of this comic. We have just a small Earth battle, and then it gradually grows and grows to the rest of the other superheroes notice, and then she takes it into outer space and just destroys a planet. It's just like, holy cow! They just ramp things up. But this is the important scene right there where they're like, we got to take care of the Phoenix. It's going to cause problems in the future here. Wow, very nice. Okay, another really iconic scene. And what I like about this one, you notice the cracks on the cover here. Uh, it's because the Dark Phoenix cracked it in this issue, in the issue before it. And so it's still cracked, not crumbling, but it just shows the effect that Jean had on the last issue. This is a weird detail. I'm not exactly sure what they were going for there, but it's pretty cool. Is this the largest casualty event in Marvel history? Well, I guess that depends on if you count Thanos, the half of the population of the universe. That was pretty catastrophic. I mean, they were able to bring them all back, but still, I don't know. Uh, yeah, Super Jump says the same thing. Uh, okay, so here we go. Child of light and darkness. Great imagery here of the Phoenix talons, the talons of the Phoenix energy, the Phoenix force going around this planet, kind of showing us exactly what it was before. Is the Phoenix toying with it? Is it playing with it? Is it going to eat it? We don't really know what the Phoenix's actual goals are, like the entity of the Phoenix. And we see a bunch of different alien species. I do like John Byrne's aliens. They have a very, and a lot of it is because he puts these bug eyes on all of these characters. When he does Alien, that's kind of one of his go-tos. Here's the president President of the United States making a plea to the Avengers to stop the Phoenix, but Jarvis is like, uh, we never got any notification of this because the Beast switched it off. He's gonna get in trouble. And we get a small little rest before more action happens, and they have another danger room sequence. These types of sequences are important in storytelling because you have to give the reader a break. And yes, the end of the issue and waiting a month between the next issue is kind of a break, but even still, not just that, but the characters need to slow down a little bit. So here is a moment where if this is a character development moment, because they have slowed down, they're still doing a training exercise, but they are frustrated through it, and they are thinking and talking it through their frustrations and really connecting with each other. And this is where we're at with this team now, who were strangers not so long ago, who are now trying to work through all of these traumatic events together. One of the things I really like about Jean's character design is is her huge hair. When she's the Dark Phoenix, her hair is longer, it's got way more volume, and I love it. I think it looks so cool. And it's supposed to, I think, evoke the flames of the Phoenix. And so she's kind of got this billowing, fiery hair that has come up. And as soon as the Phoenix Force leaves here, and we'll see it a little bit later on, the hair goes back to being small again. So, yeah, look at that face on very bottom panel there. You know something's not right, and they're scared. Fortunately, the X-Men have a plan. So when I was up, I often think that this battle we're in right here in Jean's front yard is combined with the battle we saw in the last issue there. That's why I think it goes on longer, because I think I always confuse these different battles because they just keep on battling the Phoenix to no avail. It's not going to work. Sorry, everybody. Phoenix takes everybody hostage. And then here comes Cyclops. What are you going to do, Cyclops? Are you just going to talk? You're going to appeal to her good side? This is great. There's a lot of dialogue here, but very well written because he shows his leadership style. He shows his personality. He shows all of this in this through this dialogue. No fighting is necessary. It's all worked out through talking, but not quite good enough because Xavier tries to do a little mind attack, which he shouldn't have done. Cyclops kind of had it under control, actually. Professor X screwed it up. And look at this. I want to look at all of the pink in these panels. Pink, to show off again the fiery side of the Phoenix without. They choose pink because they don't want it to blend in with the red and the yellow of the X-Men's costumes. So there we go. Look at that. And there's another subtle tear going down Xavier's face this time. And she expels all of this energy that she has absorbed, I think, the from that star, and falls back to Earth. And you can see, like I said before, now her hair is back to being calm and small, and I just like that detail. I think that's great. Yeah, and then we get a whole man. This is this is a great page too, with all of these cinematic uh, really widescreen panels that show off all of the characters that are involved. First, we get a wide shot establishing all of the characters, all of the X-Men, then a little close up, and then it goes back to wide to give us one of these blink out of existent moments, and it's very cool. So, um, uh-oh, you know what? I don't think I think I accidentally didn't put the next issue in. That's not okay. Um, wow. What am I going to do here? Okay, I got to change my PDF because I accidentally didn't include the next very, very important issue. Bear with me, folks, as I do this here on the fly. Um, Jean's expressions throughout the issue do a great job of showing the battle within her competing personalities. Yeah, and I think that's so important because they did really give away which Jean we're talking to or which Jean is talking. The ones where she has her bug eyes and she's like, "Arr," that's the Phoenix. The Black Queen always looked a little bit more sinister, like sly, and so that was cool. And then, of course, the real Jean kind of just looked helpless. Unfortunately, it was not a great look for her, but that's just the case. Okay, I'm gonna add this issue to this PDF, and I'm not don't have time to take out the advertisements, so we'll see some ads in this one here. So let's just delete this one here and save, and I have to upload it now. Did Avengers ever follow up on Beast abandoning monitor duty and even erasing the alert? Yes. Captain America does an earful. It's in one of these issues, I think. I think we'll see it as we page through here. But if I remember the scene correctly, Beast is like, "This is my family. I had to do it," and Cap's like, "Yeah, I guess you're right. Fair enough. Good point." And John George Peppers says, definitely got flashbacks to the Last Stand's Professor X death. I honestly don't remember that. I've seen that movie, I think maybe twice, many years ago, and I don't remember it. Okay, here we go. I'm glad I was able to do that on the fly because this is, and we can't just like skip over this one, can we? It's pretty important. Okay, double size issue. So I like this banner at the top. This Marvel comic could be worth $2,500 to you. What's it worth now? Like actually, if you got like a 9.8 CGC grade X-Men 137, it's probably not 2,500 bucks, right? That text on the cover is a Jim Shooter quote. um I think so. No, so I was watching the Chris Claremont documentary that came out recently. In that, he says that, of course, Gene wasn't supposed to die originally, and we'll talk about that next week because we'll be reading an issue kind of about that. And um, he said that Jim was like, "We got to do something to ramp up the stakes, or do something different." And so then Chris went away and then came back, and it was his idea that he was going to kill off the Phoenix. So, or kill off Jean Grey rather. So I think that was kind of his thing. So maybe not quite a quote. It wasn't an editorial mandate, I think, that Jean had to die. Um, those ads on the cover, such a shame. Yeah, they they take away so much real estate there. Not only that, but the special double size issue bumps down the logo as well. So it's like very limited space. But even in that limited space, this is a very, very effective cover, used to great effect. And it tells us all the information we need to know even before, because we don't know at this point where they have been teleported to. I think we can suspect it, We don't actually know. But here on the cover, before we even open up the book, we know clearly that they are not on Earth because you can see it in the background there. So, where are they? Why are their costumes in tatters? And why is Jean Grey wearing her original Marvel Girl outfit? That's interesting too. So, the main reason is because she's not wearing anything at the moment, so she has to wear something. And I love this splash page. This issue is so good from start to finish. And I love how it's bookended by the Watcher. And of course, in Marvel history, anytime the Watcher shows up, then there is huge. This is a huge event. There are going to be huge repercussions. Sasmer says Shooter said in his blog that there had to be stakes, and then when Chris Claremont said they should kill Phoenix, Shooter agreed and wouldn't let Chris Claremont and John Byrne back down from that decision. Yeah. That's right. That's the story that Chris tells in that documentary as well. You could buy the rights to Toys R Us. Well, I included the ads here. Maybe we'll find out some information about that here. Okay. Keep on going here. Splash pages. We haven't had a splash page in X-Men for a number of issues. I think the last splash page we had was when the X-Men were looking, I think, at Magneto's underground base. They did a double page spread for that one. And I don't think we've had a double page spread since. So this is a special treat. And this is very special because all of the X-Men are here, except for Banshee, unfortunately. Poor Banshee. Plus the Shi'ar in the background. This is one of those things where I wonder who has the original art to this one, to these 2 pages, because that's got to be so cool. Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll keep on going here. Ad for Bubble Yum. Hostess ad. Okay, here are the stakes. Give up Jean Grey so we can dispose of her how we see fit. And everyone's like, no, you can't do that. And um, Xavier does the whole classic, we need a duel of honor. Why is it that all of these alien races always have some sort of duel? Like you can stop the proceeding of any event on the planet if you say, I declare a duel. That seems to happen a lot in these kind of movies. Um, so they agreed to this. It's going to be the X-Men versus Shi'ar's Guardians. And look at this: the Kree and the Skrulls are working with the Shi'ar because they all want to take care of the Phoenix. So that is a very unusual move there, unprecedented. Some great character moments in this as they prepare for the battle. You get to figure out what everyone is thinking. I really like these moments here. There's just such a Claremont has such a good way of giving all of these characters their own voice, and they each think their own things in their own ways, and have their own hang-ups. And yeah, here it is: the Mighty Marvel Win Yourself Some Big Bucks contest. Can't read any of that text now. We'll have to see it another time. Some of the characters dwell on their current situation more than others, but here's the reunion between Scott and Jean that I think they probably should have had when Jean was. They haven't really had a lot of downtime to talk since Jean came back, so here we are. Everybody says that they're going to band together. I think it's really important for both Angel and Beast to be in this issue. And mostly because they're the ones who know Jean the best, other than Cyclops, of course, because this is the original X-Men. It is great that Colossus and Wolverine and Nightcrawler and Storm are also standing up for Jean here, and I expect them to because they've grown closer as teammates. But the ones who they're not quite family yet, like the original X-Men have become, and so I think it's really important for these two characters here. Again, I question why isn't Iceman here, but it's great that they can support Jean in this moment. And then I love this. Get teleported to this like Hunger Games style arena where they're just going to battle it out, and you know, it's like they give them all paintball guns and they can play a giant game of paintball or something. I think that'd be fun. I really like this scene as well. We've had many big battles, but this one is really good to see the coordinated strike team that they are. Like Cyclops splits them into two. They each have their missions. He gives them orders. Everyone has to follow them, and it's maybe not exactly as effective as they want it to be, but they do a great job. Uh, do you ever wonder whether the X-Men would have had better odds if Nightcrawler and Angel had swapped groups, leaving the four original together and the four new together? Scott's group specifically needed a flyer, and they have more experience together. That's an interesting thing because yeah, the original team would have worked really well together, and then of course we now know that the new team is very effective together because they've just grown in their training and such. So yeah, maybe. Um, I so agree that final page of the conversation between the Watcher and the Recorder elevates the story so much. Yes, definitely. Iceman is sitting back at the Champions headquarters, thinking to himself, "Where is everybody?" Yeah, that would have if they had put in like one panel. Meanwhile, that would have been so good. They should have done that. Yeah, I mean, not much to say specifically about these battles, except that again, very well done. I like how they're pitting different foes against each other, so they have their one-on-one battles, and then each of these characters needs to get bailed out in some way. Here's the original Smasher. Of course, Smasher is a bigger character in modern day. The new version of Smasher gets married to Cannonball. Let's see. Skip ahead a little bit. Wolverine's using his nose to weed out the interloper. Yeah, I'm gonna skip ahead here a little bit. Let's get to let's see. Gladiator is kind of the Superman of the Shi'ar universe, and he's going toe to toe with Colossus. And I think that's a pretty bold move because not everybody can take Gladiator, but Colossus seems to be able to hold his own until the very end. It's like, whoops, nope, that didn't work. Let's see here. The two of them are going to run into the it's kind of a Bonnie and Clyde moment there. Going to run into the action for better or for worse. And then the Phoenix is back again. So here's the moment we have all been fearing is that, the Phoenix resides inside Jean, and the Phoenix is not going to let Jean get hurt because she is the Phoenix's vessel. So can't let anything happen to the vessel. But interestingly, she doesn't change into her costume, her Dark Phoenix costume, not yet at least. Here's the moment where it's like, okay, now we're ramping it up. Jean was still kind of in control, but her hair is still big, so it shows that the Phoenix is starting to take over. And then now we have the red costume, and Jean's like, nope, before it gets too overpowering, I got to take care of it. And she effectively blinks herself out of existence, which is just wild. What an incredible way to go. And it's um I always forget. Oh no, it's this contraption. Yeah, yeah, I forgot. It's this contraption that she shoots herself with. Anyway, she still destroys herself, and and It's just, and then it just ends. Then the issue just ends right there. And it's just like, what are we? It was just building and escalating and escalating, and all of a sudden, she's just gone, and there's nothing more that can be done. And so this last page here, bringing in the recorder from the pages of Thor in order to record this event in history, and this speech that the Watcher gives is so important. Um, to contextualize everything that was going on here, and the recorder doesn't understand exactly what was going on, and the Watcher has to explain, no, it was, she did it because she is a human being and cares for people and such, and that makes her, you know, the what did he say exactly? So she briefly became the Dark Phoenix, the Black Angel Chaos Bringer. Yet, when faced with a choice between keeping her godlike power, knowing she would then wreak death and destruction across the stars, and giving herself and dying herself, she chose the latter. What makes that is what makes humanity virtually unique in the cosmos, my friend. The extraordinary capacity for self-sacrifice. And I like that the Watcher notices that, because you think about other races like the Skrulls and whatnot, who are all honor bound, and like they don't self-sacrifice, they'll die in the face of battle and all that kind of stuff. That sets humans apart from everybody else. Very, very cool. So great issue. Look at all those ads. Wow. Okay. After that, where do you go from there? You can't just jump into the next battle. We need a breather issue. So here we have our breathing issue, and here's another um, comic with a big banner at the top: "Win a Toys R Us shopping spree." And there's another one where you can win a bicycle and all that kind of stuff. So this comic cover has been um, kind of reformatted in future uses. I know that X-Men, or sorry, New Mutants had one. I think there's a later X-Men issue with Jubilee where she's kind of doing this one. When characters leave, they walk away with all of their former teammates in the background looking sad. Here we are around the tombstone, and again, Iceman's still not here. You'd think that they would tell Iceman about the death of his friend, but they don't. So on the here on the other side, or maybe that's Bobby right there. I have no idea. They don't mention him in this. No, I think that's Nightcrawler. He's using a image inducer, just like Beast is as well. Anyway, interesting. They say Jean was born in 1956. 1956, and so in the early issues of the X-Men, that no, that makes her what, 24 when she died. 24 when she died. In the early issues of X-Men, Xavier says that when he was in utero, his parents, who worked on the Manhattan Project, which was the atomic bomb, um, they were exposed to some radiation, and because she was pregnant, her child got mutated, and that's why he has mutant abilities. And so the atomic bomb, let me just check. When was the Manhattan Project? From 1942 to 1946. So let's just say Xavier was born if 40 in 44, 45. That makes him about 12 years older than Jean Grey. And I know a lot of people are like, this is kind of a weird relationship when Xavier's like trying to hit on a teenage Jean Grey. And yes, that is weird. But I think um, the age gap isn't as big as some people think. Some people always consider Xavier to be an old man like Patrick Stewart, but um, no, he was actually a lot closer to her age than that. Um, Andy says, I like to think that Bobby, Alex, and Lorna, etc., and Banshee as well, maybe even Multiple Man, are just off panel. They should all be here for that. Absolutely. I don't know why they're not. Moira, like, and Misty Knight, like we haven't seen any of the Power Man and Iron Fist characters for a while. They should have all come to this. But anyway, they're not there. This issue is a recap issue. Because of the death of Jean, Cyclops is going through his life with Jean, and it catalogs all of the major X-Men events uh, up to now, and it does a great job of it. This first page, of course, is the first issue of X-Men with Jean Grey arriving at the Academy and fighting Magneto for the first time. And the subsequent pages take us through these early days of the X-Men, hitting all of the highlights and giving us a really nice timeline and showing what's going on here. One of these funny moments here, where did it go? In this panel where Jean Grey is getting out of the car, and the boys are like, "Ooh, look at that redhead!" And Bobby in the corner says, "A girl, big deal." You know what I'm talking about. Okay, keep on going here. There's not a whole lot to talk about in this issue because it's literally just recaps telling us all about all of these stories that we've read in the past. It does a really good job of laying it all out. One of these say that when Jean left, she went to university, and I don't remember reading that. Where did it say that? Jean was an undergraduate student at Metro University when Bobby was having his 18th birthday party. I don't think I don't know if that's a moment we see in any comic. If it is, someone let me know. I can't remember, but we never see her go to school ever. I don't think it's just some they're just backfilling some story into her life there. Let's keep on going here. Krakoa. There's This is the start of the Claremont run here. Yeah. I mean, not much to talk about. It's really good. It's neat to see Burns' interpretation of some of those early adventures as well, the stuff that he didn't do. And this last page, I think, is the important one here. We get a little bit of an epilogue where Lilandra gives a gift to Jean Grey's parents, something to remember Jean by. And I think that's really nice. So hopefully, I don't know what they do with that if that ever comes back. Once Jean comes back to life, they're like, I guess we don't need this anymore. And then here's a funny moment right at the back. They Everybody's forgotten that they had invited Kitty to come and stay with them at the mansion to enroll in the school. So she arrives and nobody's there, so she's just left sitting on the front step. It's like that's a great little detail. Some well-needed levity in this very kind of dour issue, and these last really heavy issues. So very nice, well done. And that's the Phoenix Saga, people. That's just like what a wild ride from start to finish. Incredible, amazing. I just read through X-Men: The Hidden Years, and on the last page of that, Beast turns 20, and they mention he's the first to no longer be a teenager. Interesting. So he's the oldest out of all of them. One more book in this week's reading, and it was X-Men Annual number 4, which I actually think that I never have read before, but it's it's a good issue. I really enjoyed it. John Romita Jr. and Bob McLeod as the artist. So John Romita Jr. doing I guess breakdowns, and then Bob McLeod coming in and doing his inking over top of it. And Bob McLeod's another one of those inkers that doesn't often stick very close to the original pencils and puts a lot of his own style into it. Um, and so often you can tell by his faces and such that, yeah, this is definitely a Bob McLeod book. This issue 138 is really where I started with the X-Men as a kid. I missed all the excitement. The one issue I had before this was 120. I was at the mercy of grocery store magazine stands. Well, I hope you got the Epic collection now. Reading these comics the last few months has shown me how poorly handled Cyclops' character was in other adaptations, especially the movies. The way he resolves to live in this issue exemplifies that. Yeah, yeah. They kind of don't give him really very much character development or any character at all in those movies. I find he's kind of bland. Do you see Jean? You do see Jean in college briefly. I don't have the specific issue. It's during the really bad part of the Silver Age run between Kirby and Adams. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Okay, let's talk more about this issue because it's actually a pretty fun one. In this one, it's Nightcrawler's birthday, and over on my Discord group, I think it was Dr. Smith who shared this panel at the bottom here of Nightcrawler opening his presents, and it looks like Wolverine has gave Nightcrawler a picture of himself, and not just like a picture. It's like this is a big, full size, stick it on your wall picture. Pretty amazing. I love it. And Kitty Bryde's here for it. So Cyclops, I'm sorry, Nightcrawler gets a gift, and um, and it blows up in his face. Oh, it was Ian. Yeah, Ian shared that panel. Thanks. I couldn't remember which. You two were having a great conversation back and forth there. Okay, Nightcrawler is seemingly dead. He has no brain activity. We're not sure exactly why, so Professor X enlists the help of Doctor Strange to get to the bottom of this. It's nice to see Doctor Strange in here. I don't think that he has interacted with the X-Men yet, as far as I know, so this is a really nice meeting. Um, and he discovers that there is a force that's drawing them into another dimension here. And what's really quite fascinating about this story is that it's it's taking the story of Dante's Inferno, where a character has to go through he gets sent to eternal damnation, goes through the seven circles of hell, each one getting worse and worse. And so the X-Men have to go through those trials now in order to find Nightcrawler. I've never read Dante's Inferno, so I can't comment I mean, to the like the tribute or the accuracy or whatever as far as that's concerned. But I do like the concept of them going through this dimension, and Doctor Strange himself says that he was recently in hell with Clea, and this doesn't look anything like it. So, yeah. Um, but each one of these circles or layers or levels or whatever you want to call them has a very different and unique look. We meet this mischievous looking gentleman here who doesn't really help them out all that much. Um, Not a whole lot of character development going on through these issues, but it makes up for it in just kind of the action and such. Um, the artwork is not as good as John Byrne, but is not a lot of artwork is as good as John Byrne. This is still JR when he's pretty young, and so some of these layouts um, maybe could be tightened up a little bit, but it's actually still pretty strong stuff. There's a reason why he becomes a really good storyteller, and you can see it already in these early issues. Right? They meet all sorts of weird creatures here. Um, this is okay. I want to go. I need to go back. I want to go back a few pages here because there was one comment I wanted to point out where back in before they go into this dimension, Doctor Strange is looking over Nightcrawler, and he makes a comment. He says, um, what does he say here? Fascinating. I He says that he assumed that Nightcrawler was a hybrid of a demon and a human, but he's actually just human. And we find out that that's not exactly true in the Chuck Austen run, the very, very infamous and well, quote unquote, well loved Chuck Austen run of Uncanny X-Men, that his dad actually is a demon. So there you go. Uh, okay, let's get back ahead here. I don't know that I have a whole lot of comments for this issue. Just fun stuff. It's a good issue. I enjoyed it quite a bit. This weird snake creature that has Storm inside of her is kind of cool. um, it's kind of what you would expect, I think, from one of these Doctor Strange stories from this era. It's very reminiscent of the stuff that he was dealing with in his own book at the time. So we do find out a little bit of Nightcrawler's back history, actually. So maybe we can talk about that. Here, he grew up with this other guy here, not a blood brother, but they become like blood brothers. They become so close. And the one guy says, "Swear to me, Kurt, if I ever turn evil, if I ever take an innocent life, that you will kill me." And Nightcrawler's like, "I sure, yeah, you're never gonna do that. You're a good guy." But then, sure enough, he becomes a bad guy, and Nightcrawler um, doesn't actually take his life, but is involved in the moment when he is killed. So, yeah, I know Claremont wrote some Doctor Strange comics. I wonder if they overlap with this. Let me check because I have my handy Epic Collection guide here. That would be here. Let's see, X-Men. Where's X-Men 5, 6? You know what? Yep, I think there is overlap. I think he was probably writing Doctor Strange at the same time as this. So there you go. That's very cool. I like that. Thanks for pointing that out. The snake creature is actually in Dante's Inferno. That's cool. Does Storm being a snake creature count as mind control or possession? No, I think she was still in control. She was just trapped in a snake body. I think maybe. Online summaries say that Jean Grey is at Metro College in X-Men 24 to 28, 31, and 34. Okay. Well, I have read those issues, but it has been a long time, so I guess I just didn't remember. Now we finally know how and why Amanda knew who Nightcrawler was from the moment they met in the Christmas issue. Oh, yeah. So that's the big reveal in this issue right here, that this woman who is the daughter of kind of it's kind of a weird history. Um, the 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 daughter of the mom of Nightcrawler's blood brother, that kind of thing, is actually Amanda Sefton, whom a Nightcrawler has been dating in the real world and has not been phased by his appearance. It's a big deal. We find out that she orchestrated this to try and prove Nightcrawler's innocence to her mother, and that's exactly what happened. And so, um, a nice resolution to the story. It actually meant that the story had a purpose. We found out more about Nightcrawler's history, which was cool, and we got this good reveal. And then at the very end, we get the moment where Kitty Pryde is officially adopted into as a member of the X-Men. Yeah. Yeah, "Look, I'm actually kinda your sister, but let's just make out anyway." Those issues of X-Men are extremely forgettable, so I don't blame you. Thanks, yeah, I agree, they're not the best. I think that I heard that Azazel, as the father, has been retconned. Mystique and Destiny are supposedly his parents currently. Well, I mean, they could all be his parents. Isn't that how the X-Men work nowadays? Kinda something like that. Yeah, everybody's related in some way. So there you go. That's our issue. Man, it took us over an hour to go through that. Partly, I chatted at the beginning and had to redo that PDF, but here we are. This is what we're reading this week, and I have to catch up now. I haven't been reading one a day because I didn't want to read ahead until I had done this live stream. So now I have to read X-Men 139, 140, and 141. And then the rest of the week is starting tomorrow, Uncanny X-Men, when the title actually officially changes its name to Uncanny X-Men in the legal sense. Uncanny X-Men 142, 143. And then on Saturday, we have some just excerpts from some of the issues. So Marvel Treasury Edition numbers 26 to 27 and Marvel Team Up issue 100. They're all short stories and together they equal about one issue worth. So I've grouped them all together so we can read those 3 stories on the same day. And then on Sunday is Phoenix the Untold Story, which a good portion of it is the same as what we've already read. So, but there is a different ending, so you'll want to check that out. So there you go. And then if you're reading the bonus material, you can read through a few issues of Dazzler. They don't really pertain to anything, but it's kind of neat to see kind of the very first X-Men spin-off. And so that's there for you. And then the what if, there's 3 what if issues that I'm using as bonus issues at the back, and they're all what if, what if Jean Grey hadn't died, or what if Jean Grey kept the Phoenix, that kind of stuff. So the ROM the ROM reading, what did I say? Pardon me. ROM 14. Don't remember why I put that one there. Yeah, I think it probably is supposed to be 17 or 18, but that's coming later on. That's not right now. So um, that's a good question. I can't remember. I'll have to read that one. I don't have my ROM near me right now, otherwise I'd check, but I must have written it down wrong. Okay, well, that's our reading week for this week. I hope you're all having a great time. Oh, by the way, Phoenix the Untold Story is the final issue in this X-Men Epic Collection. So by the end of this week, we will have finished reading Fate of the Phoenix. We will have finished reading our 3rd Epic Collection in this reading club. And the very next volume is called I, Magneto. So there we go. That's it for today, everybody. What about issue 140.5 that came up fairly recently? I don't know anything about that one, Super Jop. I'll have to look it up. Yeah, there we go. This is our reading club. I had a great time talking with all of you and chatting with you. Thanks for all your comments. And again, I'm sorry I'm late, and I hope to see everybody here tomorrow. You're not here, over on Near Mint Condition, because tomorrow morning we are doing a live stream to reveal all of these epic collections, and it is going to be a great time. We have a lot of fun stuff to announce, and I think that hopefully there's going to be something in there for everybody. Great. Okay. Thanks a lot, everybody. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Other than that, I will see everybody tomorrow and then again on Monday. Would you consider looking through the bonus material on the stream when we finish an epic? That's a great idea. Thanks, Exeter. I'll try to remember that for the next week's episode as we go through the issues. I'll do that. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good evening.